Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party. I didn't bring Brett in today. I feel tired. It's Monday morning, 8:10 a.m. Just did not have the energy to deal with it this morning. It's kind of weird. But we're all committed right now because we have everything in Git and committed and pushed. Basically, what was happening before was if you looked at memory and you just literally opened it up and took a snapshot, you would have detached nodes, and that was kind of a problem. Um, but we got that squared away, and the way we got it squared away was by getting rid of Angular mat menu, and we just do our own menu now. We rolled our own menu, and then I can't remember. I think if you do this and you just click this, it basically you may notice that the uh, route changes at the top, and behind the scenes there's basically one app shows versus another app because it's configured in the router outlet. But I believe at this point, I can't remember for sure, but if you take a snapshot now, oh, okay, we're still good. But okay, so let's try this. We'll add a viz. Okay, let's add this viz, close this back, and let's see if we have any. So we do have one styles node, detached node. So that's kind of a bummer, and I think it might be because we have like an ngIf that is, ng styles, but I don't know exactly for sure. Because we did add some styles to the in here for this stuff, so I don't know, and we show them based on focus. I think it's just focus, so I don't understand, but let's try it again. Let's see if we have two now. No, we still just have one. Um, so, and I don't think this is that big of a deal. I mean, I literally think node count of this detached tree node of 1 million wouldn't even would have no effect. Um, I think you'd have to like get into like the hundreds of millions, maybe a billion nodes. So I think that's a fairly safe one. But if we go like this, and now we're looking at it in a different view and we run our profile, now I think we got some serious problems because we have 24 of these app tabular layouts, and each one of them has a table in it, and each table has uh, a row. And if we had more than one row, and we have two columns, and we have these buttons. That is just too expensive. Like if we had 1 million of these, even if we had 100,000 of these, I think we would start to see performance issues. And we also have this icon that is still in there. We have two of those, but we still have just the one structural style. So I do believe that this probably has to do with with the uh, the routing. I'm guessing, just a stab in the dark, that what's happening is in this app HTML, we have this router outlet, and I think as that router outlet um, as the router outlet destroys and creates new views, for some reason, some of those views are being left behind. Now, one thing because I've been thinking about this a lot because this is a very new thing for me. Um, this whole detached nodes. So I think what's happening is, my understanding is that the browser itself is coded in C, maybe C++, something like that, and it's an executable application that's coded, and it apparently it has exposed APIs that allow. Okay, it also has a a uh, um, a JavaScript engine. and I believe it's called the V8 JavaScript engine. And the the browser has exposed some APIs that allow the JavaScript engine to create HTML elements. And then for some reason, once the JavaScript engine is done, um, sometimes it keeps those old um, elements around. And see, in this case, it's kept 24 of them around for some reason. Now, it's what's interesting is I was blaming the router, but now that I think about it, it probably isn't the router. It may not be the router because um, only the tabular layout is represented here. But see, right now we're on the custom layout. Now let's go to the tabular layout. Go to our profiles. Let's take a snapshot again. Oh, so see, we do have one detached custom layout. We have 4 detached custom layouts. So now if we go back to we run it again. So we still have our 4 detached. And my understanding is these can't go now. Can't go away. There's no way that they'll ever go away. So, and now it's wild because we have 48 of these. Now we have, and actually the node count might be the number of nodes inside of here. That's probably what that is. So I guess we have 2 of these that each have 24 nodes. So like if we did this, so now we have 8 of these things. We can have a maximum of 16. And then we changed. And then change back. Run our profile again. And you see we have 178. So the 178, so all these nodes in here are going to stay for the lifetime of this session. Until we reload, these are going to be sitting in memory using up space. And this has 178 nodes in it. So I'm assuming if we had 16, if we had 16 total, we'd have like almost 400 nodes, like 300, just over 350 nodes, just sitting around. And as you move back and forth, they're going to just keep on growing and growing and growing. So I don't think this is feasible, and I do think it is probably. Now, I think blaming it on the routing is probably too far, but it probably we wouldn't have this problem if we didn't have the routing, maybe. So I think we have to change the actual fundamental structure of the application in order to not have this happen. And like I was mentioning yesterday, I don't think that this is something that you would worry about in 999 out of 1,000 applications. But I do think it is something that you would worry about in any application. I think there's 2 situations where it really is going to matter. One is very, very long running applications. And 2 is like I've worked on some applications where you do like an import and you might import like 10,000 rows of code. And if you close it and then you come back, or, if you were to route away from it and then route back and route away and route back, you're probably in one fell swoop adding hundreds of thousands of nodes into memory that can never go away. So that is probably, and that's probably where I've seen the phenomenon of like the browser just getting slower and slower and slower, no matter, and the answer being just to refresh the browser. And that one, it's not that big of a deal usually to refresh the browser because you're just looking at live data and all that. It's situations where you like maybe trying to watch something over time, that and refreshing could be a real pain in the butt. So anyways, so now I guess I have to figure out how to unwind this router and do it like maybe in a more traditional CSS sort of way. So, because right now what we have is we actually have the router, and we'll still use it, but we'll instead of using this router outlet directive, we'll or component, we'll we'll um, we'll just have the three different uh, views um, displayed. And I think instead of destroying them, we'll just keep them and just populate them. So that way we don't end up, even though, that is a bit of a waste, we shouldn't ever end up with like a bunch of nodes inside. Like we won't end up with 178 nodes. We'll just have it hidden with nothing in it. I think that is probably a more reliable thing. So I'm going to get rid of this router outlet. And I'm wondering, if we get rid of that, it shouldn't be a big deal. Like the application won't work anymore, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal. And now I believe what we can do at this point is we can go like this. Okay, so we start with the component layout. So I've never done this before. So I'm in weird territory. But I think if we do this, we can go then I guess it's upset because I haven't pulled it into here. I don't remember what we called it. I guess it makes sense to move it up here. It's not. Sometimes it's nice to have these things in element in alphabetical order. It can save you some time. Okay, so now it's complaining because we haven't imported it yet. It's always good to take a good close look at that and then kind of look up here and see that it brought it in where you'd want it. Wow, that's a really bad comment. Anytime you can delete a comment that doesn't make sense, you should. Because comments that don't make sense can probably be like 10 times worse than no comment at all. Okay, so what are you complaining about? Oh, maybe this? Because I didn't save this? I don't think so. No. So I think we could still do this. I don't know for sure. Yeah. The only thing is that we can't change the view, right? Because yes, this changes, but the route changes, but there's nothing to do it. And again, I am on I've never even attempted to do what I'm attempting to do now. So what I'm trying to do here is very novel for me. Is 824. So I think what we could do is we could add like ng ifs around these, or we could add like if components here, but I think we would still have the problem. Let's go inspect, and let's go to our memory, and I guess we should clear the old ones and then take a snapshot. So we have no detached nodes. Now I'm wondering if I close this, if we end up with that structural CSS. So that structural CSS definitely seemed to have something to do with the routing as well, which surprises me. But who knows? Um, and again, like if you're watching this video and it's Angular 30 is out, these issues probably don't even exist anymore. I do think that this is going to be resolved at some point. It's just that, and you may be thinking to yourself, well, if you're going to keep this upgraded, which I plan to, won't it just go away? And that's just not true, because a lot of times the sort of upgrades are just sort of upgrade in name only, or not structural foundational upgrades. Because a lot of times what happens is they'll have flags, and the flags will prevent some sort of critical part of some critical fix for that upgrade. So so it like kind of lets you use maybe like the new TypeScript and stuff like that, but it doesn't actually sometimes doesn't fix the underlying issues, because you have flags that prevented it, and then sometimes trying to get that working is not worth the trouble. But so what we could do okay, so it seems like this is the point to get rid of all our routes. Because we aren't using, I believe that this routing is literally just specifically for that router outlet. So if we're not using the router outlet, this is not doing anything. And code that does nothing can be very, very confusing. So let's just comment this out. I don't think we should get rid of routing altogether. We may decide to use routing for some other thing in the future, but I don't think we want to use it at this level where, like, maybe we'll have some tiny little thing where it's like, okay, who cares? Okay, so it's upset because I have a route that does not match. Ugh. All right, I guess we'll keep this for now. Okay, so, but I guess maybe what we need to do is, I don't know. I don't understand routing quite well enough. It's good to have these sort of, I get okay, so I'm having a hard time sort of getting in my head what you need the routes for. Since we're not using the router outlet, I think that we still need these, but we don't need these. And maybe these are optional. I don't even know if they're required. So let's try this. Let's try commenting out these things. This is actually quite interesting to me. So basically these identify different routes that can exist, and apparently so it does not like that at all. It is kind of wild that it's like, no, I need you to tell me what component, even though we aren't even actually using the router outlet. So we're not generating the component based on these things. All right, back to ChatGPT. This is the time killer. All right, so but decided to go different, decided not to use anymore. But I still want the routes. So what should, so basically I don't need to identify the components, the routes anymore. To handle that in the app component. Let me just say, just not in the router, not just CSS probably. But when I remove the components from my routes, all I have is a path with a console error. That was probably, got it. Good for you. URL management, route guards, but not actually render. Or it's either a component or redirect to load children or some other handler. It only gives you, if it only gives you a path, we'll complain the route is incomplete. Empty dummy component. Oh, okay. So it's just like, you gotta just do some. Option 2, use a matcher or data only. Ah. Oh, we'll still expect. Don't use Angular router. If you really don't want the route handling router altogether, just listen to the browser pop state. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Option 1, dummy component. Okay. So let's just do that as a to-do. I guess, let's see, 8:33. I guess we should do this. I wonder, can I do this right in here? Maybe I can just do this right in here. Okay, so we want to import component. We want it to come from core. Where did it do? Oh, okay, I put it way too high up there. Cry. And then I think core should come first. I don't really get hung up on things like that, but I don't know. Since I'm here. Okay, just make sure that that works at all. Okay, we didn't get any kind of error. All right, it's a dummy component. Yeah, the routing in general. Okay, first of all, the router outlet is pretty awesome. I mean, there's this is not, I'm not criticizing the router outlet, but I will say that the whole routing suite of code is amazing, and that definitely goes well beyond the routing outlet. So I'm pretty sure I still want it. I don't think I want to be trying to listen to changes in the. I think I want to have, there's like various services and stuff that let you do stuff. Okay, so everything is happy. Adviz. Let's just make sure Control I. No, F12. Console. Yeah, we got nothing weird. It's not weird. All right. So now we can get rid of these guys here. So, since I know the majority of people that watch these videos are from India, I guess there's some pretty massive changes in the way that the H-1B program is going to work. And I genuinely don't know what I think of all of it. I thought that, first of all, I was kind of surprised because I thought before that it was very, like, to me, this is how I thought it was. I thought that the companies I thought they paid like 50 grand or 60 grand to sponsor an H-1B professional. Um, and, that was, I think, you know, I still think an H-1B professional is a really, really good deal for a corporation. If they're paying 60, I still even think it's a really, really good deal if they're paying 100. And apparently that's what they're going to have to pay for new H-1B folks. I do think that it's still like an H-1B programmer is probably still more competitive than an American programmer at 100K. I mean, I could tell you that we visited Australia once and we met a lady, and she was just sort of your very, very typical middle-aged woman. I think she was in her mid-40s, and she was a fruit picker. And me and my wife were both stunned by it because basically, like, if you were to, a fruit picker here in the United States is like a physical specimen. It's a human being that can work in incredibly high, like, temperatures for long hours in physically exhausting work and for very, very little money. But in Australia, a fruit picker is a good job. I think she said she made like $45 an hour, and basically, everything was set up for them to be able to pick fruit in a very, like, pleasant way. So they had these little carts and it had lifts on it, and they'd take their lifts and they would have their little straps, and they would drive to all the different trees, and they would pick fruit off of the trees, and then they would package them very nicely, and they'd go to the stores and all that. But here in the States, it's nothing like that. And you'll hear a lot of people say, well, Americans don't want to do that job, but they don't want to do the job the way we have it here right now, but they would want to do it if it was the way they have it in Australia. And I think we have the identical situation in computer programming too. I think most Americans find it way more pleasant to do jobs like lawyers, doctors, and traditional engineering positions like mechanical engineering and civil engineering, those sorts of things, aerospace engineering. But they don't really want to work as computer programmers because it's hard. It's very it's not that the task itself of programming is hard. It's easy for some people and hard for other people. It's that the expectations on an American programmer are much more intense than the expectations in other professionals positions in the United States. So, I definitely have very mixed feelings because as in the United States, we definitely benefit from foreign workers. Like, some of the most brilliant people I've ever met in my life were foreign workers. Not to say that they were any more brilliant than I've met just as brilliant people in the that were American born as well. So, I'm not saying, like, a lot of times you'll read somebody say, oh, Americans are just stupid or whatever, and that's just not true either. It's just like, you're way better off as an American in a profession that is more difficult to outsource. It's just sort of the way it is. Now, I will say that people from India that come to the United States often find themselves in a very, like, the companies have, if you come here to the United States on an H-1B, the company has tremendous leverage on you. Um, I remember, like, when I've worked with plenty of offshore teams and plenty of onshore, like, Americans that were in the U.S. And I mean, like, foreign H-1B workers were in the U.S. and the people who, like, they companies would say, hey, we want XYZ, like, you have to take Diwali off, you're not allowed to go to Diwali, you're not allowed to do anything, you have to work during Diwali, right? And then, like, the people in India, the Indians in India quit. They're like, yeah, no, I want to this is an important thing for me culturally, so I'm going to quit. But the ones in the United States don't quit, and they don't because they don't want to end up getting deported, and they actually aren't that worried about getting deported usually. Like, if you come here and they're, like, going to mistreat you and you're not happy with the way you're being treated, you probably would quit. But if you bring your family here, what my understanding is, what happens is the family, your kids and your other family members will become very Americanized, and you'll be like, oh man, they'll never make it in India. So you end up sort of being held hostage here because um, because of your family, because of your needs for your pregnant wife or something like that. Like, that's usually the thing that holds it. Now, I have known H-1Bs, never from India, but I've known H-1Bs from other places like Turkey specifically, Russia, Ukraine, where, like, they're like, no, if I go home, I'm going to end up drafted into the military, or I'm going to be arrested immediately or whatever. So, that, but I've never met anyone from India that was like that. Everybody I've ever met from India was just sort of here having a good time, and they just kind of get pulled into things. But anyways, so this is how I set up my routing. And now I'm going to come into this. And so what we can also do, I believe, is we have three layouts, right? We have our app, we have three, and one cares about data. So one of them we definitely can't just do, but we could actually get our tabular layout. And so I'm assuming it's called app tabular layout. I like to kind of just try to guess things like this so that I could ensure that what I've done makes sense. Tabular layout. App tabular layout. Then let's come over here. Component. And then did it pull it in? It brought it in on its own. Let's save. Did I not pull it in? App tabular layout component. What is this? What are you saying? That was weird. Okay, so I probably named it something different. Which is kind of a bummer. Tabular layout component. Oh, wrong one. Oh, that's not what I want. I want the selector. Oh, it's got two apps in it. I don't like that. I think that's pretty easy to fix, though. I don't think that there's usually very many side effects to changing that, unless you're just using it in like a million places. All right, what do we got here? So it's upset. It's saying that I'm using this in HTML and it occurs there. And it's saying that it doesn't know what that is. Go back. 845. App tabular layout component. I don't know. Let's try killing this and bring it back up again. It may have just not caught that change when we made it. So I was playing a game on my phone, and it's kind of game where when you get to the end, when you lose the game, you have to watch an ad. Okay, yeah, so that was working. Um, and so I'm watching my ad, or my wife went to a website. I'm watching, and you have to go to two ads. And my wife went to a website, and then I was sitting next to her on my game, and then the very next, when I hit next ad, it was for the product that they were selling at the website. So it is incredible how fast they have that wired up. You know, like my wife tangentially was looking at something, and I got an ad literally immediately. Um, you know, so we ended up buying the product, but it's just uh, blew me away. So, oh, so basically now we have both of them, but I think you can only show one at a time. So if we hit inspect, well, one is sitting on top of the other. So if I were to just go like this, go to my styles, and say display none. Oh, what am I at tabular? That's interesting. I don't know what we're looking at here. Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say delete element. Huh. So for some reason, yeah, I guess it gets confused. Probably because it can't figure out which one of these to show. So we might have more problems than. Um, it's going to be a little bit harder. I'm really kind of confused though. Let's see, let's add another viz. Okay, so we are definitely in custom because it's showing them there. Let me reload. Add one. And then let's go ahead and get rid of my other one. Inspect. And delete it. Actually, so right now I believe both of these are absolutely positioned. Yeah, so I would like to change that. I don't know why it's absolutely positioned. It's probably, okay, so app custom, so let's go ahead and get rid of this. And then tabular layout, same thing. No, oh, that one wasn't. Oh, here we go. There we go. I feel like that makes a little bit more sense. Now I'm curious if I change. Yeah, so add. And that is interesting that we only got, oh, yeah. Yeah, so the layout is very, very broken. Curious, now I'm curious if I change this back. Wrong one. Reload. Add, 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 add. So we're in custom layout. So basically what I guess this is probably a good time to get off of here. But what I need to do next is just get the actual um, visuals to hide and show based on what the route is. So basically right here, um, um, in here, I need to sort of listen to for the route change, and then set a style, probably right here. Probably throw a div around these guys, div, and have like a styling that happens in there. And hopefully I can use like ng class, and then basically, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem, I don't think. And then basically, when I show and hide these things based on what's in there, and then we're probably gonna have to, and once that's done, we'll probably have to go into these and make them be aware of the routes, and they may already be aware of the routes, and only populate the for loop if it's their route. So maybe add that extra logic in the for loop that shows things. But anyways, happy coding, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.